Missy from Messages with Missy, and I just wanted to come on YouTube and start doing the recording of the questions that you post to me on my page, Messages with Missy. So the first question that I got, I'm going to pronounce the name wrong, so I apologize ahead of time, but it's Bao. And the question was, at what age did you feel that you can help people with your gift? Honestly, I'd say it was probably about 4 years ago, so that would put me at 39. However, I was raised to be very religious. I was a Christian, or still am a Christian. And I was taught at a young age to always help people, and this was the way that we were taught based on our teachings of religion and knowing that that's what Jesus would do. So you're always trying to show love to people that have never really felt it. So it wasn't until I knew about my psychic abilities 4 years ago that I started to use those abilities. However, I've always tried to help people. That's just the person I am. It's just the way that I was raised, how my mom taught me to be. And I always thought it was the right thing to do, is to be nice to the people that really are mean to you. Really just be nice to everybody. So thanks for that question, honey, and I hope I was able to answer it positively for you. So the next question is from Paola Diaz. And she asked me 3 questions. So the first one was, how do you download information from spirit when reading other people's energy? Essentially, when I am doing a reading for someone, I don't tap into that energy until I'm allowed to, because I don't want to read someone that doesn't want to be read. So I have a tendency to turn that switch off, and it's been over time where I've been able to kind of shut that down. And it's literally just blocking it, and it's just a way of just kind of putting up your wall and kind of blocking energy. So until I'm doing someone's reading, I don't tap into it. And once I am given permission, it seems to kind of flip that switch, and it's on, and all this information comes rushing towards me. In order to be able to tap into this information, it literally has taken time through meditation for me to realize how to do that. So that's kind of how I download information, is literally waiting until I get permission from it, learning the techniques through meditation in order to interpret what's being said to me. And again, if you've watched any of my other videos, knowing how to interpret things is literally a lot to do with symbolism and how spirit talks to me. And when you work with your guides, you have your own way of doing it. The next question was, do you see it, feel it, hear it, or a combination of all? And honestly, it is a combination of all things. Now, I can only speak for myself personally, and the way that I see things is more of being fed information into directly into my mind. So my eyes are physically telling me that there's nobody there. However, I'm being fed information, description. So I'll get, oh yes, this is a male. He's this tall. He's got this color hair. He looks like this. And I'll get fed information that way. But it's almost as if I'm seeing it, because the details can be so specific at times. And I'm not saying this happens all the time, but 9 times out of 10 I get fed this information. And I do feel it. I can already feel that there's a presence around me. And that's how I start requesting more information, and so that's how I'll kind of get the details about what this person looks like. Hearing it is more so, again, it's not an audible voice, but I do get given information that goes kind of, again, just how I'm being fed the visual, I'm being fed the audio. So I'm being told, I get pictures or images, and that's how I hear the information. Will be a thought in my own head that wasn't my own, and that's how I've learned over time that that wasn't mine, and that was from spirit. So it's a combination of all 3. The 4th question was, does it change depending on the person you are working with? Every person's information that comes through is different, so things do change. So I might be working with one person, and maybe I don't hear anything, but I might see things or feel things. Or I'll be doing a reading for somebody and I don't see anything. No one comes through, but somehow I know details of their life. So I might not see something, but I might hear it. So yeah, it does depend on who I am working with in order to figure out all the information. It's not all of them for everybody. Sometimes it's different things. Sometimes it's more than just those 3 things. So thank you for those questions, and I do have a few more. Now we're answering Tracy Lynn's questions, and her question is it easier to read a person you know or someone you don't know? Quite honestly, I want to say it's easier to read for a stranger than it is for somebody I know, and this is just my personal opinion. When I know somebody and I know the details of their life, to me it's a lot harder to get past my ego. When I'm getting fed information, I stop myself from reading because I might know X, Y, and Z about them. So I'll be like, oh no, that's not true. That can't be true. And so I won't even tell them. I also feel that it seems less sincere because I might know too much about them, that if I'm telling them this information, they may not even believe me because it might seem like they've told me this in passing before. So really, am I telling them anything different or new? So I find it a lot easier to read for somebody that I don't know, a complete stranger, because I really have no expectations. They don't know anything about me. I know nothing about them. So I'm really not letting them down either way. But for a friend, my heart is invested, so I have a tendency to want to help more, and that stops me from reading so much. It's a very odd thing, but that's just me personally. Tracy also asked, when you do a reading with cards, do you only get the answers you're reading for, or does other information come across too? I always get more information than I'm being asked. When I'm sitting with a client and they're asking me 5 questions, I might get answers for 10. Now, I personally won't tell them everything because they don't need to know everything, but I will give them more information that's pertinent. So if it's something that I feel that they really need to know, and that's why Spirit's telling me, I will tell them. I don't like to hold anything back. I don't like to candy coat things either. If I feel like something is wrong, I'm going to tell you something is wrong. Only because I would prefer if somebody did that for me. Wouldn't you want to know if something's wrong? So, yes, I do get, normally I do get more information than what I'm being asked. And it just is a matter of what is necessary to hear and what isn't, because not everything being told is what needs to be said. The next question was, when you do a reading, do the guides, my guides show up, or is it the guides for the person I'm reading? And honestly, I'd have to say it's a combination of both, but I personally only hear directly from my guides. I might get images of the other person, but what I'm hearing is my guides, which is why I trust what's being said to me, because I work with them directly. So I hear from them more so than anyone else. It doesn't mean the other people don't show up. I just hear from my own. So thank you for those questions. Then we've got some questions from Gina. This is Gina Belcito Bottomley, and she asked, how did you become a psychic? Is it something that naturally happened, or did you study or train yourself? I'm going to say this, and not everyone's going to believe me on this one, but everybody has psychic abilities. Everybody. If you have breath, you have abilities. It's just a matter of learning them. And I say this often, it's almost like exercise. If you don't exercise those muscles, you won't know you have them. So just like an athlete, if you don't go running, you don't know that you can run a marathon because you've never done it. So it is a matter of training yourself, and the way that I discovered my abilities was after my mom's passing, because I started physically seeing things that I couldn't explain or rationalize anymore, and I am a very rational person. So I couldn't make excuses for what was happening, so I just decided that I better exercise these abilities, and this was more of doing meditation, practicing readings, using cards more often, kind of stepping out of my boundaries and doing what I knew in my heart I could do. So everybody has abilities, and everybody can do what I do. Honest to God, you can. It's just a matter of training yourself to do it. So if you have the desire to learn more about what your abilities are, then it's a process. So you start learning to meditate and shutting down and learning to listen to your guides, making connections, and you can do it. I'm not special, I promise you, not in that way. So the next question is, why do psychics get things wrong? I love this question. And the reason why I love this question is because it's my personal opinion, is I do feel that we get things wrong because sometimes if you're fed the wrong information, so if I'm being told that, let's say for an example, that my husband is cheating on me, I might work harder at my marriage because I've heard that than if I heard that he wasn't and we were just being complacent. And I'm not saying that this is what's happened. I'm just saying that I personally feel that sometimes if you're fed the wrong information, it kind of lights a fire under your ass to do the right thing, or to do something different, or to go down another path. And maybe you wouldn't have necessarily made that choice had you not been fed that information. So Do I appreciate that we're being lied to at times? No. But do I understand it a little bit more? Yes, I do. And again, we can get things wrong because of the symbolism of how spirit relays information. I brought up in another video that one time during a reading, spirit was telling me that somebody was boring, and how they interpreted that. They showed me a bowl of oatmeal. Well, oatmeal can mean oatmeal if you're taking it literally. I thought for a second, well, does this person like to eat oatmeal? When in reality, they were telling me that this person was boring. It was symbolism. So symbolism can play a part, and if you interpret it incorrectly, you can be wrong. So I do feel like there are times it is a matter of just training yourself and learning how your spirits interact with you and understanding the symbolism. And if you keep a book like by you and like, okay, every time I have oatmeal now I know it means this, you'll find that there are patterns and things that they will show you more frequently, and now that you know what it means, you're able to interpret it correctly. Do I read for myself sometimes? No, I don't. I think I tried to a few times, and honestly I felt like my ego was stepping in, and again, if a card came over, I wouldn't trust it and I wouldn't believe it, and it's almost like insulting the people who are helping me, the spirit that are helping me. So I chose not to do that, and I would prefer to go to a trusted source and ask them to read for me, which I only have very few that I ask, but I find that it's a lot easier to believe somebody else as opposed to believe me when it is regards to me. Then we have some questions from Ruthie, Sammons Murray, and the question was, when did your awareness heighten to be able to accomplish what you understand of yourself now? I'd say my awareness heightened, I became more open to it after the passing of my mother, which was 4 years ago. And that was when I was working in the nursing home, and of course I started seeing things that I couldn't rationalize anymore. And once I started learning to develop my abilities and really paying attention more and kind of studying it and learning how to use it correctly and how to help people, that obviously it's changed my life, and it's only become stronger and stronger over the years. I would have never thought 4 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. Never. The good Lord himself could have come down and told me this, and I probably would have laughed at him, because I never thought this was something that I was destined to do. But now that I am studying it more and paying attention to it more, I know this is my future. This is my path. I'm supposed to do this. I give closure to people who don't have it, and I know that's something that's so desperately needed, especially when you've lost somebody. And of course, when losing my mother, it triggered this whole journey. I wanted so desperately to have closure that I started searching for it on my own and learned that I can give this to others. So that was a good question. Thanks, Ruthie. The next question was, do you depend on oracle cards, or do you have visions and hear from ancestors for others? I'd say when I first started doing readings, I didn't use oracle cards at all. And my mediumship abilities were like so on point that I would shock myself. Like, it would freak me out that I would hear or know things that there was no logical way I would know these things. However, I'd say over time I became a little bit more dependent upon oracle cards because I was getting even more in-depth information and accurate information from the cards, that it almost made like my mediumship muscles weaker because I wasn't using them as much. So you have to really balance the two, because if you overuse one, you're going to get weak on the other. So now I try to do a combination of two. So when I do live readings on video, I try not to use the cards so much, and I just try to interact with my client, and that is using my regular reading abilities. And during the process, I might pull a few cards, as opposed to just doing like email readings where it's straight into the oracle cards, because it's a lot easier to get information on a quicker level. So if somebody wants answers like right now, I just flip some cards and I already have the answers, as opposed to doing a reading where it's more one-on-one and I'm not using my cards as much. But you do have to find the balance, because you can lose. You're not going to lose your abilities, but they are going to become weaker, or you won't be as confident in them because you're not using them as much, if that makes sense. And the last question was, how do I deal with all of this? That's a good question. everyone thinks that I'm supposed to be like peppy and upbeat and happy every single day. And I'll just be honest, it's a bunch of bullshit. I am the most honest, open person that you will probably find in this world. If you think every day is a rainbow of sunshine and you think that having psychic abilities is going to make everything great for you, it doesn't. Okay, I do not have a perfect life. Just like all the problems that everybody else experiences, I have them as well. Just because I have deeper knowledge into things doesn't make it easier for me to deal with. Also, being an empath, I'm picking up on everybody's emotions, so sometimes it's not even just my own that I'm carrying everybody else's. I am a full-time waitress, so working in an industry where I am constantly dealing with irritable people, and believe me, I'm dealing with many irritable people every single day, that coming home 5 days later, I didn't realize that I haven't protected myself enough, and now I'm depressed, and I go through some severe depressions, like severe. I mean, even this week, 3 days ago, I cried 6 times for no reason. I had zero reason to cry, but I was crying. Couldn't tell you why. So it's very difficult to deal with, and sometimes it takes me a little bit longer than other days to figure it out. But a lot of saging, taking salt baths, carrying crystals around with me, praying. I pray all the time, every day. I'm praying. I pray. I have a tendency to pray in tongues. If you're not aware of what that is, religiously in like Christian churches, it's called speaking in tongues. But what I'm finding in the psychic community, it's called the light language. Whatever you want to call it, that's how I pray. Of course, I pray in regular words too. But these are all techniques and things that I have to use to deal with my abilities, because if I just turned it on every day and walked around, I tell you I'd be shut down and in a psych ward real quick. So it's just a matter of learning the balance of it, turning on when you need to, shutting it off when you need to, and taking time for yourself when it's needed. And believe me, it is needed. So I hope this helps everybody, and I hope I answered the questions well enough for you to get some further understanding. I look forward to doing this again with everybody, so I just want to say thank you for those who participated and gave me the questions, and I look forward to answering some more. All right, everybody, take care. God bless. Bye.